Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the Cross Stitching Runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers, and if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in, and I appreciate that the name or title of this particular video may be different, since the last episode that we had was just, hey, we're back to our regularly scheduled programming, and for much of the muchness we are. And this particular episode is still very much about cross stitch, and I am still filming Flosstube episodes, and it's more about the direction that I'm going to be taking with hot cross stitching, as it's coming to an end of an era in terms of what I'm doing in that sense, but more about that later. What we're aiming to do here right now is to get into a bit of the cross stitching that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks. I'm still doing the AFL stitching challenge, and this next lot of stitching that I have to share with you is all about what I've been working on for the last couple of rounds, which will be rounds a little bit of 13, very much round 14, and a little bit of round 15, which is happening this weekend. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first piece that I have to share with you is called Scottie Dogs, and it's out of the Ultimate Cross Stitch Christmas, volume 19 from the year 2018. And it is designed by Lucy Heaton. This is roughly what it'll look like when it's finished. And I started this perhaps last year during December, when I was getting into the Christmas spirit of stitching and stuff. And this is where I'm at so far. I'm stitching this on what I think is 28 count Jobelin, perhaps. It is really nice, soft fabric. I am really enjoying working on this. And I've done a bit of work on this little white Scottie dog here. I've put at least 138 stitches into it, and I worked on this because of the Carlton Blues winning their AFL match last night. And even though I don't normally associate this particular piece with the Carlton Blues, I am getting into the Christmas in July spirit of stitching, even though we still have roughly a week left of June for this year. And I just wanted to get into the kick of things early. And what I'm also doing with this particular piece is still using majority of the called for colours, but in some cases where I'm feeling just a little bit lazy or just wanting to change things up a little bit, I'm incorporating some specialty threads that I have in my stash as well. And with the Scottie dog at the top here, what I've done is in the red checkered squares, I have used the variegated floss from one of the Stitching Retreat boxes that I got from the Black Needle Society. And I've done that also with the red ribbon that this little Scottie dog is wearing. And then also with the actual blue and grey checkered outlines, I've used another of the specialty threads for the just for the outlines. I thought it was just something a bit different. And with the hat, yes, it's the hat, the beret that the little Scottie dog here is wearing. I've kind of used the some of the called for colours, the green definitely, which is the DMC 911, but with some of the darker and lighter blues, I have used just a couple of DMC threads. I thought it was just something that will still look pretty cool, very similar to the called for colours, and I just changed things up a little bit because yesterday or last night I was just feeling a bit lazy and I couldn't be bothered to get up and get a couple of the threads, because I know that I'd have to go and put them back again, because I think it's only, it is very much just for that little Scottie dog's hat that I'd need those colours, and I was like, yeah, it's just easier just to do that. So that's no fuss. So I'm stitching it 2/2, so two strands of floss over two fabric squares, and I'm really enjoying how it's turning out. While I'm still talking about patterns and such out of this magazine, the other one that I've been working on and has no association with any of the stitching challenges that I'm doing is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Again, this was started towards the end of last year, and I have been using a different floss than required or called for. I've been using the Brindabella threads, I think it's BT 16. The awkwardness, though, is I'm running out of floss. So the bit of floss that you see hanging down here of the thread, that's all. Once I've run out of stitching with that, that's it. In the sense that I have gone online and I know that the Crafty Frog in Canberra, they do stock Brindabella threads, and that's where I'd initially gotten the BT16, and I've clicked on the notification button to be told when they have it back in stock. I'm going to double check some other online shops just to see if any of them also stock the Brindabella threads, or if there's alternate locations, like if I can buy the threads directly from Brindabella threads as well. The other risk that I'm running with being stuck halfway through stitching this is because this is a specialty thread, I'm running the risk of the dye lots being different, and I've been caught out with that before. And actually through the DMC brand, I've been stitching a horse picture called Fire and Ice, and I think I've taken a pause stitching on it because I wanted to work on some other patterns. And when I went back to it, I then found, I've actually run out of a particular color, and I thought, oh yeah, DMC is usually pretty reliable with their dye lots. And when I'd purchased some more skeins of the color that I needed, the dye lot was just a little bit different, where it was perhaps a little bit lighter, and it meant that I actually needed to pause for longer finishing Fire and Ice. And the good thing is I went to it was a craft fair by memory that was in Canberra many moons ago now, and I had spoken with one of the vendors there, and they actually had said to me that they actually have some of the older dye lots that I needed to finish Fire and Ice, and everything all worked out in the end. I finished Fire and Ice, and I also have its sister pattern that I'm really keen to eventually work on as well, and that will be pretty cool. That will be awesome. So, if by chance the dye lot ends up being just a little bit different for this piece, I'm not 100% sure what I'll do. I may end up abandoning it, or have a look at my stash to see if there's some similar threads that I can use to then transition it into another of the threads that I have. Or I'm pulling at strings here. I'm thinking out loud. I don't know. But to put into perspective of what it should look like when it's done, I'll just find. So ideally, this is what the project will look like when it's done. And this particular chart or project has been designed by Emma Congdon, and I've stitched many of these other cards before. So that's unfortunately the crease mark of the pages that are getting in the way, but that will help a bit. And I've started getting into the Christmas stitching also with the aim of wanting to stitch some more of the Christmas stuff, or Christmas cards especially, in preparation for the end of the calendar year, where I want to be able to give my teammates some Christmas cards that I've stitched, because at the end of last year, I received some really nice gifts from the teammates, and I want to be able to reciprocate this year. So I think it'll be a pretty special and cool thing to do. Let's get into some of the other stitching that I've done though. The next piece that I've been doing a little bit of stitching on is Midnight Glow by Custom Crafts, and this is a project that has been stop and start for quite a few years now, and I am super close to getting this done. And I say this, or have been saying this recently, whenever I've picked it up, because I'll shift back just a bit to show you how far I've come. So I'm at the bottom of the page, and or the chart rather, and over the last few days I've put maybe 200 or so stitches into the piece. I'm not going to be able to finish stitching the entire page. There's a few hundred stitches that I've culled from the bottom of each page because I miscalculated how much fabric I had for this piece, even though I did start right up the top here. So I'm going to need to add some fabric at the top and bottom to help with the framing for this piece. That said, I don't regret what I've done. It is still looking absolutely stunning, and I don't know when I'll get this finished. I'd like to think that I'd be able to get this finished by the end of this calendar year if I do charge away and just focus solely on this. It would mean that I would need to take a slight break from filming the Flosstube, because it would just be this piece I have to show and nothing else. And I know that variety is the spice of life, especially when it comes to these Flosstube episodes. So I would rather take my time with Midnight Glow and work on other projects as well. So I have that variety to share with you. Now, a part of the reason why I've been working on Midnight Glow was the AFL stitching. I caught up. I've been actually ahead for a little bit. So I had several days to be able to work on other projects, because we're in round 15 at the moment. There's still a couple of games to be played this afternoon, and we're roughly halfway through the AFL season, and that means many of the teams are having their buys and their breaks to be able to rest up, get their energy, and then go gung-ho for the next 10 rounds or 10 weeks of playing footy before all the finals happen. With that in mind, the next piece that I have to share with you is a hot cross stitching design, and I've got it associated with the Hawthorn Hawks. So I'll just bring up the cover page and I'll share with you my progress. So this is the cover page for the piece that I'm about to share with you. It is the Spanish proverb of a life lived in fear is a life half lived. And there are times when I need to remind myself of this, when I'm feeling fearful and stuck and afraid to take the next step, even though it might be the right step for me to take. And this particular quote I've taken from the movie Strictly Ballroom, one of my favourite movies that I haven't watched for a really long time. And it'll be good to rewatch it just to relive the memories and just enjoy the movie for what it is. Now, I have this piece, as I mentioned earlier, associated with the AFL team, the Hawthorn Hawks. And in round 14, they won their game and their final score was 97 points. Now, I've put at least 97 stitches into this, and threads in the way. And I'm sharing this upside down. So, with it being around the right way, this is where I'm at so far. And I've focused mostly on filling in a bit of the butterfly's wing. And whenever I do work on this piece, I really enjoy stitching this. It has that really great balance between confetti stitching and solid blocks. And I just love the progress that I'm seeing with it. And it may become one of those pieces that just becomes a focus piece for me. Now, Hawthorn have a buy this week, and who knows what they'll be like in future weeks. So, fingers crossed, I get to work on this one just a little bit more. Now, while we're talking about uh, AFL Stitching Challenge and pieces of progress and so forth, the next piece that I have to share with you is another hot cross stitching design, and I'm just finding the cover page for it, which will be the black and white rolled up daisy, and it's based on a photo that I took and converted into a cross stitch piece. And this is roughly what it'll look like when it's done. And I'm stitching this on 18 count black Ada, and I've managed to sort out or fill in some of the hanging threads that had been bothering me for so long. I have started stitching the background in 10 stitch, I guess for a little while now, because it was just getting a bit tedious stitching the background in full cross, and I really wanted to have the attention of your eye drawn to the flower rather than the hodgepodge of the background. And if I were to rechart this particular pattern or picture rather, I know that I'll do so many things differently, especially with the background, and I'd be looking into even removing the background and just having the flower to stitch. That would be the main aim for me. So, with that in mind, whenever I do look at this piece and just appreciate it for what it is, especially when I'm looking at it through the camera, I can definitely see the flower coming to life, and I am happy with how that component of the charting has come to life and that it is transferring across really, really well. Now, from the AFL Stitching Challenge perspective, Collingwood had, I'm just double checking my notes, Collingwood had won their game and their final score was 119 points. So I had definitely put 119 stitches into this by focusing on the hanging threads that were over here and focusing on the area here of just getting a lot of those full crosses done. And again, I'm really happy with how it's coming about. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you actually is not included in the stitching challenge at the moment. It's a piece that I started up just as part of the breaks between each round when I have been able to catch up. And I've made a start on Winter and Stars Hollow. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my last episode. Anyway, it doesn't really matter if I have or haven't. I just want to share with you my progress. I haven't been keeping tally of how many stitches I've done with this particular piece, but I've decided to stitch this on the 28 count black linen, and it's the same fabric or same part of the same fabric that I'm using for Heaven and Earth Designs chart for the reader, which is based on artwork by Lisa Parker. And this has been an interesting challenge where I'm stitching this 2/2, so two strands of cotton over 2 fabric squares. And the challenge for me with stitching this is I'm starting right to left, and I don't normally do that with a lot of my stitching. If I am going to be starting a full coverage piece, I tend to start from left to right, or I'll start in the middle if I'm not completely sure if I've got enough fabric. Now I know with this piece I have enough fabric, and what I'm aiming to do with this is, now that I have 90% of the called for colours for all of the Stars Hollow charts, I'm going to stitch it in one long row. which is how they were meant to be done. So it means that with Winter in Stars Hollow, initially I won't be stitching it as an individual piece. I might a little bit later on. My mind might change, who knows. However, this is how much fabric that I do have, and as we can see, it is fairly see-through, which is good. And what has helped is I've made sure to have light fabric or a light piece of paper or something on my lap, so I'm able to see the fabric squares super easy. I really do like how this is coming together, and I think it'll be just something a little bit different, because I know that with all of the seasons in Stars Hollow, like winter, summer, spring, autumn, the charts recommend the stitching on the 28 count white fabric, and I'm just trying to do something a little bit different, because I remember many people had found it challenging to stitch the light colours on the light fabric, and I'm definitely finding that to be challenging with some of the other pieces that I'm working on, in particular the next piece that I have to share with you. So the next piece that I have to share with you is one that hasn't made an appearance for quite some time, and at the moment I can't quite remember if I've shared this with you in the last episode. I think in the last episode, I'd mentioned that the North Melbourne Kangaroos had won their game, and that it meant putting some work into this next piece, which is the Inner Works of Life, based on the artwork rather, by Stephanie Law. And the really exciting thing with this piece is that it is near identical to the cover of this journal that I'm using, and the subtle difference between the cover of this journal and the Heaven and Earth Designs chart is that right here where we see some of the birds flying, that's where the girl is on her swing in the chart. And at the moment, when I was talking about light colors on light fabric, that's the challenge I'm experiencing with this piece. So this is roughly where I'm at, and at the moment I can't quite remember if actually I've had it upside down. This is the right way. So I've started in the middle with this piece because I thought that it would just be something different, and I'm not 100% sure if I've got enough fabric. I think I do. I just thought that it would be nice to start in the center and then expand out, and it's going to be a long time, I think, before I put any more work into this piece if I solely rely on North Melbourne winning any games. And the exciting thing, though, was North Melbourne played their game last night. They were playing against the Melbourne Demons, and for a while there it looked like they were going to get a hiding. There was a significant point difference between the Demons and the Roos, and the fantastic thing with North Melbourne is being able to see their resilience and their fight to be able to chomp away at that point difference to have the final score of only 3 points difference. Now, North Melbourne did lose, so it means that I'm going to need to put 100 and something stitches, 70 stitches rather, into Halloween Treats 2, which is a piece that I have associated with the Melbourne Demons. And I'm just really proud of North Melbourne for being able to fight back, because in recent years, the Melbourne Demons have won the flag. They are a strong team, yet they've potentially had a lot of people with injuries and such, so it's made it a bit tough for them to do what they need to do. Best way I can put it. That said, let's get back into the actual stitching side of things, because ultimately that's what we're really here for. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is, again, another Heaven and Earth design, and it's based on artwork by, who is it? By Amy Stewart, and it is a mini stitch in time. Now, what I'm trying to do here is actually find the cover page for a mini stitch in time, because even though I could grab the cover page off the wall behind me, I'm borderline of accidentally having it rip in half because of the way that I'm getting it off the wall. So with that in mind, this is the cover page of, I guess, roughly what it'll look like when it's done. And this particular piece I have associated with the GWS Giants. They won their game in round 14, and I put a minimum of 73 stitches into it. And I was focusing mostly on the spot just here. My aim is to fill in, I guess, a bit more of the gaps here to then come down into the confetti stitching that we see for the medium brown colour. And I'm wanting to try and get things sorted out along here first, because I know that I have mucked up somewhere. I'm out by one square, so it may mean that I need to fudge things just a little bit just to get things to work. But I want to get that sorted out before I progress any further by moving more, stitching more to the left or the right, to the down, or anywhere in between. So it'll be good to get that sorted out. Now, the GWS Giants, they played last night or late yesterday afternoon against Sydney Swans, which is my team that I support. And it was an interesting game. I will actually, while I'm talking about the Swans, Giants, and so forth, Swans won their game. And with the Sydney Swans, I am stitching Country Threads Pelicans. So this chart right here, I'm focusing mostly around this area here where we see I guess the end of the pier, a little bit of the pole or whatever you want to call it for the wharf or the pier. Words. So yesterday's game, the weather was crap. It was very wet. It was raining for the majority of the game, yet. And it initially looked like it was going to be a low scoring game because of how much it was raining and how hard it can be for the players to play in such wet conditions. Yet somehow, and kudos to both teams, because even though the Swans won with a huge margin, I think there was like a 20 to 40 point difference. I'll need to look that up just to be sure. But the point is, even though Giants lost, they're still a strong team, and they did really well to, I think, have the final score of 66 points or thereabouts. And the Swans' final score was roughly 150, 151 points. So I'll need to put some more stitches into this, and my aim will be to fill in the water just a little bit more and then keep continuing across, or I might continue up, because just near the Pelicans wing is its beak. So I'll probably stitch a bit of that as well. I just want to finish that page before I move on left or right to that side of things. Okay, so the next piece that I have to share with you in terms of stitching progress is Fight Like a Girl. And Fight Like a Girl has been designed by Tanya Amity, based on the illustrations by Elena Zhnevkova. And I am stitching this piece in association with the Brisbane Lions, because we've got the lion Aslan from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And the Brisbane Lions played yesterday and they won convincingly. Their final score was 152 points. So I need to put 152 into this piece. Last week they played and they won their game by memory. Yes, they did. They had a total of 126 points, and I focused mostly on the purple books that we see over on the side here. And my aim is to keep working across to the other side where we see the green books and the white owl from Harry Potter. So I'm stitching this on what looks to be 18 count navy blue Ada. And this is where I probably could use this to stitch any time that the Carlton Blues win. By memory last year, that's what I had done because I was using that for the Melbourne Demons, the Carlton Blues, and the Brisbane Lions. This year I have changed things around just a little bit, just because I wanted a bit more variety. And I don't have with me the piece that I am working on. Actually, yes, I do. It's hiding on me. So the piece that I have been working on a little bit to do with the Carlton Blues. I think it's been a variety. I'm going to need to double check my notes. The Carlton Blues I stitched on, as I mentioned, the Scottie dogs for this week. Last week, I don't know if they played or they might have lost. It doesn't matter. The next piece, however, that I want to share with you is I run these towns. So it's still like a finish for now. The difference compared with last week was that I've freestyled a little bit with the different distances for a lot of the main running events of 5K, 10K, half marathon, and full marathon. The letters are a little bit different because I was testing things out in terms of the height of the K and what shape I wanted it to be and anything in between. And I probably won't change things too much. I'll most likely leave it as is, just to make it unique and special. And if anyone is interested in stitching this, then I can chart it up so the Ks are all the same size and everything works out beautifully. The last piece that I have to share with you is Trio of Dogs. And Trio of Dogs I am struggling a little bit with. Now, I'm associating this piece with the Western Bulldogs, and the Western Bulldogs won their game in round 14, and I put a total of 149 stitches into this. And I've been focusing mostly up around some of this lighter brown kind of colour. And part of why I'm struggling with the Trio of Dogs, and sadly I still haven't found the cover page for it, the challenge I'm having is it came in a kit, and the way the floss came in a kit is in these floss cards. Now, it's all good and well to keep it neat. Where I'm struggling is the threads that you see on here, they're all one entire length. And for anyone who has been stitching for any period of time, we know that it's ideal to keep your length of thread arm length if you're going to do two strands, to then fold it back on itself to have the two strands, to then do the loop method of starting a stitch with that thread. Where I've started to try and make life a little bit easier for myself is that I've started cutting these card things down a little bit to have it as a single thing, and it's worked out okay. My next step is that I need to then transfer the thread that I see here onto one of like a floss drop or onto one of the bobbins that we also use for some of the DMC threads and similar brands, and then have, say, a bit of this card poking up so I can still see which symbol that colour or thread is connected to. I have stitched myself up a little bit with this, where as part of me sort of cutting things down a bit, I have a block of 3. So it's, I think, something similar to this, where I've cut it down to there. But my challenge is that I have somehow separated the thread with the from the symbol, and I don't know what thread it's associated with. And before anyone starts saying, but why don't you just look at the chart and convert and compare? And when there are charts like this, where it's a kit and the threads have been dyed especially for that chart or that kit, that they don't always have a conversion chart to go with it. So if you happen to run out of that thread, you would need to get back in contact with the creators of the kit to say, hey, do you have any more that I can purchase or such, or something like that. And then also the description that they have to go with the symbol. So this might be medium dark brown, and then some of these other colors might be dark mocha or dark chocolate, or something to that effect. And to then try and figure that out with any threads that I might have in my stash, it'd be like, okay, I think it's something like this. I'm normally pretty good at being able to figure out color conversions, and if needed, I can look things up and have a bit of a guess, noting that the dye lots or the colors that I see on the screen may be a little bit different to what I see in real life, because of the way the computer screen has configured its colors and such. So that's just an interesting pickle that I've gotten myself into, and something that I hope to be able to fix very soon if I want to get Trio of Dogs finished. Now, that is pretty much it for all of the stitching that I've done. I do have a fair bit of stitching that I need to do for round 15, because there's only one project, which was the Christmas Scottie dog sampler that I've stitched, and that's it. I need to get 70 stitches done for Halloween treats too. I need to get 151 in for Pelicans. Essendon and Fremantle, sorry, they're playing today, 2 separate games, and I'm thinking that they may win their games. So depending on the outcome of those games will depend on how much stitching I need to do for different projects. Then there's also Fight Like a Girl that I need to get 152 stitches in. So we're looking at the moment at least 300 stitches in total that need to get done. That's going to be super easy. That'll be fine. I'll be able to get that done over the course of the next week. So they're the plans. Now, I'm just going to pause for a moment, because we're going to get into, I guess, the other part of this Flosstube episode that talks more to the name of this episode and why we're getting to the end of an era. So initially, when I started hot cross stitching, I had the intention to teach people how to cross stitch, and also to supplement the lessons that I'd be creating, and all the rest would be to convert a lot of the photos that I've taken into cross stitch charts that people could then buy, and I'd stitch some of my own charts as well. And the aim with all of this was to create a community around me for people who just wanted somewhere to feel like they belonged, and that they'll be able to use cross stitch as a way of managing stress and feeling like they had somewhere to go if they needed to chill and relax and chat, and create a bit of that sort of community and vibe. And we definitely have that already with cross stitch and Flosstube and that kind of thing. And to an extent, it's great that we're able to have these sort of recordings and share with each other the progress that we make, and then cheer each other on through the comments and all, and have these stitching retreats to catch up with people in person, or in some cases catch up with people online and have that community and rapport. The aim, though, with hot cross stitching, and why we're now sort of coming to an end of an era, is the time and effort that I have for the Etsy store and the website is, unfortunately I don't have the time and the effort that I need to be able to put into it. So I'm going to be winding up the Etsy store to the point of closing it, and I'll still have the main website. The difference, though, is I won't be doing any more designs to then upload and sell, whether it be the digital charts or physical charts, because there are so many different and awesome charts that we have available to purchase. And a part of where my energy levels are, and skill levels to an extent, I don't have the energy, time, and drive to be out there promoting, because it's all good and well for me to continue to do the designing and stitching and such. But if I'm not able to be on social media 99% of the time and doing the promoting and all the rest, and using all the different tools that I need to get the brand out there and get the stitching and the such done, that I'm going to end up wearing myself out. And I have already a full-time job career that I've crafted and shaped for the better part of 15 years, if not longer. And that means that I'm in front of the computer for that particular job 90% of the time. And when I come home, being in front of the computer to then do the marketing and working on my side hustle, I need the break from the computer. There's also that recognition where I know that I can potentially reach out to people who are in the marketing realm for crafty businesses, and I can pay some people, pay a team of people to help me out with the things that I don't have the skills in or the time to be able to do. And that's part of why I'm shutting down, or going to be shutting down rather, the Etsy store, because I love that there have been some people who have reached out to me through the Etsy store and have said, oh, look, I love the store that you have. You have some beautiful work here. And they've then put forward some suggestions and recommendations of how the store can be improved, and that I could employ their skills to help me out on that. And I felt quite reluctant to engage their skills and engage these people to help me out with this, because when I first opened up the Etsy store, I did have some people now known to be scammers contacting me, and ultimately they were just trying to get some details or such to then use whatever of that information and do whatever dodgy things that the scammers were doing. So that's part of why I am reluctant for anyone, or to engage with anyone who is wanting to try and offer services and assistance via those particular methods, especially when my Etsy store has contact details for me via other methods and such. So the other reluctant thing is to engage someone or a business that is outside of Australia the copyright and the ownership of things is different. It gets a bit muddy when it's international borders and all the rest. So if I, in years to come, pivot again and want to get the hot cross stitching brand up and going again and getting the classes going and doing all the things that I've talked about historically on this channel, I feel that I would trust Aussie based companies first before any other group who may be legit, and yeah, go down that path, because at least I know that here in Australia, knowing what the laws are like and knowing how business works in Australia and not needing to worry too much about the time zones or anything like that, it makes life hopefully a lot easier for everyone involved, and it'll be all okay. We'll get there. The notes in front of me, so my apologies if I keep looking down every so often. And where am I at? The other side of things also, for where I've not done any lessons at all, is whilst I have the ability to teach people and I've got skills and knowledge that I can share with people, the lessons and classes and the time that's needing to be involved with that, at the moment, again, I don't have the time and such to go with it. So it would need to be me refocusing my attention on maybe doing mini videos and such instead of having dedicated classes and dedicated spaces that people can go to. And I hope that one day that I can find a different way of having those in-person catch-ups that I had initially hoped to achieve with hot cross stitching. And also it's a bit to do with the way that traditionally I normally work, where upon self-reflection and such, I found that it is just a bit easier for me to work on my own, go away, do whatever work that I need to do, and then connect together and collaborate with people just to share what I've worked on, what we're doing, and how it's all going to work, and then go away separately, do any amendments and such where I can, and then eventually have that final piece that we've all worked on that ends up being something awesome and amazing. Now, I know that it doesn't always work that way, where in many traditional jobs, there is that requirement to work in a team and to be collaborative and to work a specific way. And that within itself, in the when I can spit my words out, in the professional realm, is tough, but I have to accept that is the way that work has to be done, and that I'm the one that has to adjust and change. And that's where doing this cross stitch is a way of just being able to relax and just go, okay, I don't need to worry about anyone else at this point in time. I don't need to worry about any interruptions or anything else that goes on in the world. And I can just focus solely on cross stitch and being creative, which again is part of what I love with cross stitch, where for me it's also that de-stressor. And I hope that can be a similar thing for many people as well, that it's a way of keeping our hands busy and do that creative expression that can be absolutely awesome and amazing. And I guess also as part of my soul searching and trying to find things that can bring me joy and bring the money in, I am regularly seeing some questions come up of, what did I enjoy doing when I was a kid? And has any of those things stuck with me since childhood? And some of the key things that have come up was being crafty and creative in the sense of writing. I've always loved writing, and it was something where I continue to do on a near daily basis, especially before I head to bed, of doing that brain dump journaling to try and then help with making sense of anything that's gone on during the day and help me get to sleep and have hopefully a good night's sleep throughout the night and not be woken up by my thoughts and distractions and go from there. And as a kid, I always loved writing stories, and I remember on one point in time my sister admitting that she would sneak into my room and try and find whatever journal or whatever I was writing in to see if I was writing any stories. And I don't remember if she liked any of the stories that I did write, but I just know that the fact that she was making that effort to try and read some of the things that I was writing surely says something in a positive way, that that she liked what I was doing, I hope. And the if I did go down that realm of writing, the challenge, actually there's several challenges that go with all of that. The Some of the challenges can be, what am I going to write about? Who is my audience? How am I going to be able to keep doing the writing and continue to establish a comfortable life for myself by getting paid to do the writing? And that's part of why I started the cross stitch blog that I sadly have neglected for what feels like a few years now. And the aim of the cross stitch blog, which is the cross stitching runner of the same name, the aim of that blog was to get people thinking just a little bit differently about cross stitch and thinking just a little bit differently about why we do cross stitch, and trying to help people see the value in it, and that to an extent it's more than just a hobby for many of us, and that whilst we may go to an art gallery and buy an amazing painting that someone has done, and that artist may then receive some kind of commission or payment for that work they've done, sadly the same thing isn't said for the cross stitch. And that I would love to be paid to do cross stitch. I think many of us would love that as well. And sadly, we wouldn't get paid the money that we deserve if we base it on the time and the type of project that we're doing, because it would be thousands of dollars that would be potentially charged for that piece. And for anyone who may not know a lot about cross stitch, they would look at a piece going, well, yeah, I like it, but I don't like it enough to drop $20,000 on it, because they don't appreciate or know that it took us X amount of hundreds of hours to get that stitched, and that it also cost us, say, $30 for the fabric and whatever other supplies that went into stitching it. So if we took out the time factor of getting that piece done, again, I don't know if people would then pay, say, $100 or $200 for a cross stitch piece, because we would be looking to be compensated for the materials that went into that piece, unless somehow it was a stunning piece. So that's a bit of the challenge that we have of helping people understand, okay, this is the go with cross stitch. And as a result of me writing about the blog and writing about these sort of things on the blog, I've kind of run out of things to write about on the blog along those sort of lines. And it started heading towards the direction of being like all of the other blogs, where I'd be sharing what I'm working on and how all of that's going. And that's, for me, a lot of time and effort. And it got to the point where I didn't want to fit into that mold as much as a lot of people are successful with those blogs, and it's their way of contributing to the community and feeling part of a community and sharing with people what's going on, what they're up to, and any new releases if they're designing and such. The challenge from my headspace and where I'm coming from is that as much as I want to be included in the community, and my challenge is wanting to stand out a little bit and not be following the exact same path as everyone else, where I'd be like, yeah, I'm happy to come along, but I'm going to go down this slight detour because who knows what experience we'll end up getting as a result of it. And that's part of that storytelling side of things, of sharing with people the experiences that have happened by going on this detour. And this is my long-winded part of the long-winded way of saying that the this is where I will be doing that pivot of going, well, I really want to go down the path of doing some more writing, and it would be writing just for me, and doing that storytelling, and then sharing the experiences of what's happened along the way, and who knows what can come out of it. So this is the reason why hot cross stitching is winding up just a bit, and perhaps to the point where it's taking that pivot of being investigating rather the realms of being paid to do cross stitching and doing the model stitching for people. And I will still be doing some of my own designs, and the difference is that I won't be uploading any of it for sale. If anyone here is interested in any of the newer designs that I share with everyone in the community through the Flosstube and such, if you're interested in stitching it, then definitely let me know and we can sort something out. And it may be a case of some of the charts being sold for $5-10, depending on the type of design and such. And for me, just getting back into that joy of stitching and just not following a specific plan that has been set out by other people and saying this is how it has to be done, carving my own path to an extent, and seeing where it goes, seeing what happens, and if it can turn into something financially stable for me, hey, that'd be fantastic. That'd be awesome. And if not, that's okay. That's okay. So in future weeks, coming weeks, if not coming months, there will be hopefully some posts through Instagram and other channels to wind up the hot cross stitching Etsy store, and to sell some of the physical and digital stock that I have, and we'll go from there. But until next time, thank you so much for spending a bit of time with me, hearing me out about the change of direction that hot cross stitching is taking, and I hope to see you in a couple of weeks' time. Happy stitching, everyone.